All right, guys, so this is just a tiny extension. It's looking at how to find a bit more of a scientific way of finding the line of best fit. If you have a piece of paper and a pencil, this would be very useful at this point. What we're going to need to do is we're going to look back at two scatter graphs that we've already drawn, one for the sale of scarves and one for the petrol over a certain distance. And what you need to do, if you haven't got these already, don't stress too much. This is going to be a very short video, so you don't need to draw them. The first thing you have to do, though, and you might need a calculator for this, is you need to add up and find the mean average for the sale of scarves and for the temperature. Okay, so if, you might want to pause the video, find the average of the sale of scarves and the average for the temperature. Okay, so hopefully, just to check your answers, for the total of the scarves, they sold 349 in that week. And for the total temperature, I realize that doesn't really mean much, but the total temperature is 93. Now, that means that the average per day number of scarves sold was, and I'll write this down here, I'm going to just go to a whole number. So I'm going to round it. And so the average was 50 scarves. And yes, it actually is 49.85, but we're just going to go with 50 for now. And then the average temperature per day was 13.29, but we're just going to go for 13 degrees C. So those 2 points are really important, because what we do is we look along our axes. We're going to go, we find 50 scarves and we find 13 degrees centigrade, which would be here. We line the two up to this point here. Now that point is our mean point, our average point. And that means that when we're drawing our line of best fit, we have to go through that point. Now, there is a more exact way of working out things like the gradients of these lines, but that you won't need that in CE at all, even at scholarship level. So there's no point in us going through that. But it just means that you have a pivot point. And for you, it's much easier because you can just put your ruler on that point and rotate it around until you get as many points as possible through that line. But approximately, you're probably looking at a line that goes, oops, I've just accidentally wrote it out, a line that goes something along the lines of that-ish. Obviously, you can rotate yours. I can't do that to mine, but you can rotate it around to try and get as many points as you can as close to that line of best fit as possible. Okay, so now let's repeat the same task on the next graph. This is the one with the journey and the distance and the petrol used. So pause the video. You're going to find the average distance traveled and the average amount of petrol used. All right, so in terms of those numbers, we've got the total journey was 851 kilometers, which is an average. And yes, we're going to go to just one whole number. We're just going to 106 kilometers. And the petrol consumption, well, the total consumed was 82.8 liters. And if we divide that by 8, we get 10.35. So we're just going to go for 10 liters on average used in each of those journeys. And again, that kind of creates a coordinate for us. So we're looking at 106. Well, that's 110. So we're going somewhere between these 2 points, and then 10 liters, nice and easy. So we're going to go for about here being our mean point. And again, much easier for you than it is for me, but you are going to try and draw a line which goes through that mean point and tries to cross as many of those plots as possible. Actually, that's quite successful on that one. So that would be a more accurate way of drawing your line of best fit. Now, when you get to the task today, there is yet again, I don't know why, there is another one of those bits of data about art and math scores. And what I want you to do is to find the mean points of that scatter graph. And you're going to use that to make predictions. Now, remember, you can, with an estimated line of best fit, still make predictions. Things like if you got 60% in an art test, what would you get in the maths test? But using that mean point means that line of best fit is just that little bit more accurate. Okay, have a go, and do come to the drop-ins if you need any help.